You're listening to the Preacher's Hour podcast,
a podcast that dives into culture and society from a young preacher's perspective.
I'm Jeffrey Copeland. I teach middle school history. I'm married to my wife, Selena, and I'm a student of the Bible.
And I'm Brandon Jackson. I'm married to my wife, Jess. We have 3 beautiful daughters, and I love to share the gospel with teenagers and help disciple them in their walk.
We sit down each week and have conversations about what we've learned,
what we're learning,
and what we think about current events happening around us. Enjoy. Hey everybody.
Yo.
Welcome back to another edition of the Preacher's Hour podcast. It's your boy Jeff Copeland.
And I'm Brandon Jackson.
Yeah, man, we are back.
Here to bring you Theology Part 3.
Part 3. Really quickly, side note, I talked to Pastor Carl this morning and he said he loved our episode on Discovery Center. Yeah, he sent it to JD. We can have JD listen to it. So I asked him, do we do it justice? He goes, oh, you guys did great. So
oh my gosh.
Shout out to Pastor Carl.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Let's go.
Yeah, man. So,
all right, I'm with it.
To try to make sure we maximize our time, because it's been going
last time
so
was
quickly.
First of all, I don't know, you guys can be the judge of last time's time. I think Jeff shorted us.
Heck no.
I think Jeff cut us off early.
Time is time. I can't. You gotta talk to God about that.
Over there manipulating stuff. I was like,
I'm not freaking Dr. Strange out here. So, guys and girls, part 3 of Theology.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys are enjoying the series. I know we are talking about it.
Learning a lot, man.
Yeah,
like, just through like dialogue. I wish I had actually, I'm gonna steal a Bible. I'm gonna steal that Bible while we're doing this, because I want to keep this up so I don't lose my place, so we can stay moving along.
Go ahead and move boba.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, there's a plant. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see it. But Jeff has this plant that he...
I didn't name it. My students that I teach online named her Boba.
Boba.
Boba. B-O-B-A. Boba.
Boba.
Mm-hmm.
Or Baba.
Nah, it's Boba. Anyway. So...
she's doing fine, though.
Yeah, it's one of God's creations.
It's actually a really beautiful plant. What is it called again?
It's a snake plant.
Snake plant.
Because of a little pattern on the leaves.
Yeah.
So, bunch of stuff we want to get into today. You'll see in the notes of the episode, but we'll see if we can get to all of it today. But
yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, man. So before we get to science and the Bible, there was something that I learned this week and I really wanted to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, it's crazy. So I'm trying to go as quickly as possible. So let me ask you, you've heard of the golden calf story?
Yes.
Okay, so what was Israel's sin with the golden calf? Like, why was God upset? What did they do?
Graven image.
Okay.
And worshipped it.
So they like made their own God and worshipped it instead of God, right?
Yeah.
That's what you've been taught your whole life.
Yes.
It's me too. It's not the case.
All right. So making sure we're not going into no blasphemy.
It's actually worse than that.
What is worse than that?
Okay.
What is worse than creating an image and worshiping it over God?
Okay, I'm telling you.
Oh,
it's
Lord.
Crazy.
Here we go.
So Exodus 32. I'm going to skip ahead to verse 2.
Okay.
So Aaron said to them, take off your rings of gold that are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. So all the people took off their rings of gold that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool and made a golden calf. And they said, these are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt.
God, now, that's cold-blooded.
Now, okay, in the Hebrew, it says the word Elohim, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if it should be translated, these are your gods, plural, because look at the next part. Okay, when Aaron saw this, hold on, where am I at? Yeah, when Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it, and Aaron made a proclamation and said, tomorrow shall be a feast to who?
Yahweh.
Yes. So they're worshiping Yahweh, not another God. They didn't make their own God.
So what's this?
Okay, so what's the problem with that? Why would God be mad?
What is the calf? What does it represent?
Okay. Before this, Israel received the 10 Commandments. So So you gotta understand in the narrative here, okay, they're in the middle of their marriage ceremony to God. He just told them in the 10 Commandments, which is the covenant terms in the negotiation,
Right.
do not make any image in creation to represent me or anything. You do not need to make idols.
Gotcha.
Okay. And you remember before that, Israel, they go to the mountain, they have to purify themselves for 3 days. And then God starts talking, they freak out and they go, Moses, you talk to him. We are too afraid of him. So what they're doing here, okay, they are trying to make a version of God that is more palatable for them, that they can,
Something that they can deal with.
that they can deal with.
Wow.
That's what we do
all the time.
Because
We try to
before,
make God
when
into-
it's like, oh, those stupid Israelites making their own God, how dumb. I would never do that. You're right. Neither would
No,
they. They made a representation of Yahweh that they felt more comfortable with, that was more domesticated. We do it all the time.
Oh my God.
We try to domesticate God all the time.
Facts.
Okay, that's why God was upset. And think about it. They didn't even make a human image.
No.
They made an animal, a beast of the field.
Something that
Something
they
are actually over.
Dominion over.
Yeah. If you go back to the creation story, we're supposed to be over this thing, and they've made it. Now they're bowing down to it. But even then, in the back of their mind, it's like, okay, I know this is not as scary as God.
Wow.
So we're in our minds, we're worshiping Yahweh. We're still cool with you, Yahweh.
Yeah.
But we're gonna do things on our terms. We're gonna make you easier to deal with.
It's crazy because like in this Bible, the subtitle for this section is called "The Golden Calf: A Wrong Attempt to Secure God's Presence."
Yes, exactly. It's so. How many times do we do that with God all the time?
Like even in our prayer life, like I guess being more specific in our prayer life, we need God to be more palatable. Like we need Him to be
the soft teddy bear God.
Yeah, like the guy who's gonna like
the God of America,
like the one that's gonna change our situation because of us, not because of Him, but because like we want to
the
do
genie,
this.
the genie,
yeah,
God.
the genie.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, where'd you learn this on the
Bible
podcast?
Project. I was like,
Oh,
what?
gosh.
I felt so convicted because in the podcast, can you grab that?
Oh yeah,
that's But John on the podcast was like, Tim, I feel so bad. My whole life, I thought that they made their own God.
for real.
Like, and I was my whole life.
That's
like,
so
why would they
crazy.
make their own God? They already have, but no, they're not.
They're making a more usable God.
Yes, a much more manageable, docile, not as scary. They're not letting God be His full self.
which we learned a long time ago that like in order for this relationship to work, you have to like God allows you to be your whole self.
You got to let Him be.
You
his
gotta let
full
Him
self.
be his full self.
Scary, fiery mountain, earthquake, trumpet blast, lightning, tempest. Like,
Self.
You gotta let Him be Him. And we have not been doing that from jump.
Wow.
From the jump, we have not been doing it.
And we're not even
God.
taught that. I think that's the scary part. We're not even
We're
taught.
taught that, that's because it removes us from it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that was their sin. They're dumb. No, that's what we do every day.
Which is funny. I was watching, and it's kind of silly. My kids were actually watching it. It's a series called Buck Denver.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really, really great. It's What's in the Bible with Buck Denver. A really great way to teach your kids the Bible without like watering it down. So the creator, Phil Vischer, he was the creator of VeggieTales. But then he was like, VeggieTales is kind of like,
Watered down.
it's watered down. Like we need to give people like the realness. So he created What's in the Bible, and it's fantastic. But in one of the seasons or one of the episodes, they had like they were going through, Israel was like making its own God and doing all that kind of stuff and rebelling. I think it was in Judges. Like they just kept on like rebelling against God. And then Buck Denver's like, well, why would anybody rebel against God? Like, you know, and we would never do that in this time. Like we know that God is bigger than the sun. We know that God is bigger than the moon. Like we know all this kind of stuff. And like, we would never do that. And then like they have this old lady, her name is Sunday School Lady. And she was like, are you sure, Buck? It's so funny. So then she like starts mentioning like credit cards and like putting your trust in money and putting your trust in all. And it was like, yeah, you may not do it to like things that you found out that are not real, or real gods or real like beings, but you still now you do it to like inanimate object that you know are inanimate. And it's like, oh dang. And then Buck's like, yeah, we're really messed up. It's like facts. So
Praise the Lord.
I think all this is like really good information for like, even for me, I'm like, I need to go back and read that entire story to see so much that you miss. And this is, we've been saying this from like episode 1. There's so much in the Bible that like you were taught the wrong way. It's not nothing. You didn't do anything wrong. I don't want you to think that you did something wrong. And even the person that taught you, they didn't do anything wrong either. They were teaching you what they were taught.
Yes.
But we need to get back to like reading the Bible like ourselves. There's things that we just don't think about, things that we've heard, but they're not what is really in the Bible. So if you want to check out what's in the Bible by with Buck Denver, it's a really good, even for adults. Like I know it's for kids.
When I was watching, the kids weren't watching. I was like, "Go, be quiet." Buck Denver's talking. Yeah,
it's really, really great.
Yeah, man.
Which is really great because even talking about the Bible and science, like people always think that they're at odds with each other. Like it's like science is trying to disprove God. Like at the end of it, I think you're just gonna find more God.
I mean, exactly, man. But yeah, man, that was just a really cool, like eye-opening experience. It just shows you like we got to be really careful when we read. We're trying to understand the Bible.
Agreed.
And I think this is our next topic is just going to be a prime example of that. So science versus the Bible. I was having an interaction with a brother from church and a young guy, and he's just like, I'm struggling with science and what it says, and you know how old the earth is, and you know what about evolution, and what about yada yada yada. And it was a good conversation. It was good for me to be reminded of these questions, because it was something that I went through when I was younger. Like, you go through this you grow up in church, and then you're in school, and then you go to college, and you're really challenged, and you're just like, hold on, like what's going on here? And so, first of all, people listening, I don't believe that science is at odds with the Bible.
Nah, me neither.
That's the first thing. So we're going to obviously start with creation. So the theology on creation, right? So we've got to be very careful when we read the first page of the Bible, because honestly, everything else after Genesis chapter 1 is based on that. Genesis chapter 1 is the foundation that everything else is built on. If you get Genesis 1 incorrect, you're going to mess up the rest of your reading of the Bible. Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's really important.
Facts.
I mean,
you can't even when you watch a movie and you miss the beginning, you can
go to the bathroom before.
Yeah, you can kind of put together like what's going on, but you don't have a full sense. And then having especially like Tenet, you can't miss any of that movie. You can't miss a second of Tenet. Josiah's
about to.
He was like, "Oh my God!"
Guys,
be quiet over there.
Josiah loves Christopher Nolan, so that's his guy.
Hey, that dude is amazing.
Yeah, man.
So you got to see the beginning. So like, if you miss the beginning of the Bible, you're gonna have a very difficult time, like trying to figure out like the whole overall storyline of the Bible.
First thing I want to say is that, number one, guys, the Bible is not trying to tell us how old the earth is.
Oh, thank you, Jeffrey.
That is not, it's not concerned. It's just not a concern of the biblical authors, of the author of Genesis. Like, that's not something they're worried about. A lot of things that modern people are worried about, that we need with our storytelling, all the details, the Bible says they not care about that. They don't care about that. They have a different mindset when it comes to telling a story. Yeah. I mean, you look at the snake in Genesis 3. It gives zero origin of this snake. Right? And we're thinking from a modern perspective, well, wait, who is it? We have all these questions.
That's not the point.
Doesn't matter. You're missing the point. You're getting caught up in the minutia of things. You're majoring in the minors. You got to focus on this. What's the point? What is the overall moral or message that we're supposed to get from the story? So this is the first sentence, number 1, in the Bible. Listeners, I want you to read this. Go to Genesis 1. Okay. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now let me stop there. Okay.
What's the Bible about?
So first of all, when you hear the word earth, what image comes to your mind?
The earth.
Like a round ball floating in space.
No,
right?
like a flat disc.
Brandon crazy. Okay. The earth is not flat, my flat earthers out there. Okay. So just get that out your head. But anyway, most people, modern people, we picture the whole globe
world, yeah. The whole
floating in space. Okay. Humans have only had access to an actual picture of the earth since 1952.
Wow.
Okay. This was not written in 1952. So the author is not picturing a globe. When they say the word earth, I think it's eretz in Hebrew.
They're thinking about their area.
Yeah. It means the ground, what I can see around me.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then the heavens, shamayim in Hebrew, it's always plural, is just what's up there. It's not freaking galaxies and astro. It's just what I can see when I look up. That's what the heavens and the earth mean.
Wow.
Okay? Because it's not that they were stupid. They weren't primitive. This is all the information they had access to. It makes perfect sense in their mind. Okay? Now, it tells you what he did. So then in verse 2, talk about the earth was formed and void. That's not a great translation. We always think of it as they made something out of nothing. Nothingness is not necessarily a concept that Hebrew people understood. They understood more, you didn't have a purpose. So if something that was made but didn't have any purpose to it, that is their idea of nothing. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just sitting there. The Hebrew of this, instead of forming void, it's more like wild and waste, and unordered.
Yeah.
So just imagine like chaos.
Just chaos. Yeah.
Just like water everywhere. Just it just wasn't ordered.
Yeah.
That's what they would say.
Nothing sustainable.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
And so the Spirit of God is there, and his whole goal is to bring order. God brings order out of chaos.
Yes.
Right? And so you have all these different days. There was something I wanted to get to, and I cannot remember. Oh, this is one of the things I never understood as a kid, but it makes perfect sense now. Okay, so let's see. He makes light and separates from the darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night, and there's evening, morning. So the first day, he orders time. Right? That's what the first day is about. Don't get so focused on he made the light and the darkness, and the point of it, he's just created time. That's the main thesis here. God just created time.
Oh, that's dope.
Okay. Okay, that was the first day. Now notice the evening and morning. That's very key. When he says evening and morning, that just denoted a day, right? God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." What does that mean?
Man, that was like, that's always been like a tough one for me.
I was so lost when I was a kid when I was reading that.
Water from what water?
The waters in the expanse. What, huh? What are you talking about? Okay, so it's funny because my Bible says, instead of expanse, it says canopy, which is actually close to the Hebrew. So the word is rakia in Hebrew, and it literally means a hammered out like dome, like a shield. Like you take a piece of metal and you hammer it out until you get like a smooth, round surface.
Okay.
So that's what the sky is. It is the rakia. So imagine.
So it's like it's been placed over the earth. So like when they look up, it looks like it goes into a sphere.
Okay. When it says separate the waters from the waters, in a Hebrew person's, in an ancient person's mind, there was this dome. There's water above it, and then there's the water down here. That's what that's what the expanse is.
Okay.
Water up and water down. And then they believe that the dome has windows in it. Okay? And that's what rain is. In an ancient person's mind, there's water up there. That's why it's blue. It makes perfect sense to me. So there's this hard dome, there's water up there, and then every once in a while God opens the windows and the water comes down. It's rain. Again, they're not stupid. This is all the information they had access to. So that's what they thought.
So does that mean, like, when he says separate the water from the waters, it's like separating oceans from
the water
rain?
down here? No, the water on the ground down here from the water that's above us, above the sky.
Oh, they thought the sky
They
was
literally
water.
thought, no, they thought there was water above it. There's this hard dome and there's water above it.
I'm lost.
That's what they thought.
But I don't get it. Why would they think that?
It makes perfect. Think about this.
Okay.
It's blue up there, and then every once in a while, water comes down. There has to be
so
water above it.
The dome is clear.
Yes.
Okay, you gotta say
I
that.
mean, I don't know if it's.
You started off saying it was metal.
No,
and I was like,
okay.
like,
So the word rakia is just, it's a hammered out. I just wanted you to imagine making a metal
okay,
piece
cool.
of thing. Yeah.
So it's like this clear
It's
dome.
like this clear dome.
And there's an ocean
there's
above it.
Water above it. And then there's windows and it lets the water in every
Okay.
once in a while. That's what rain is.
Okay.
In an ancient person's mind. I'm sorry, I wasn't clear.
I can understand that now. Okay.
Yeah. I'll have to show you the Bible Project video on it.
But that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which I think I've actually seen that.
They just dropped a newer one like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
And it's really good.
Let's
It
go,
breaks
DP.
down all of Genesis 1. It's really dope. I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah, let's
we'll
go.
watch it during the break. So, I'm trying to make you guys understand something here. So, like, you have to be reading that. Clearly, we know that the sky is not a hard dome with water above it. We know that now. Okay. Again, this is not to diminish the Bible or the people in the Bible, that the people who wrote it, that they're stupid or primitive, that we don't listen to this. You just have to be careful taking the Bible completely literally, especially, I would say, Genesis 1 through 11, the first 11 chapters. You got to be very careful. Yeah. There's a lot of symbolism and there's a lot of ancient culture baked in. That if you don't understand,
you're going to get the wrong
you're going to be lost
in the sauce for real, for real.
So
I get it.
Yeah. So right off the bat, creation narrative is different than what we think. Okay. And then you get through all the days. There's evening and morning, evening and morning, evening and morning. Okay. The key day, he makes humanity. Okay. Now here's the point of our existence. Why humans were created. Verse 26. Okay. Then God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So the point of humanity is to do what?
To have dominion over the earth.
To rule. We're our job, the reason why we were put here, and the key is we were made in God's image, which means not just made in his image, we are his image. We are literally the image of God.
Yeah.
Okay. So we represent God's rule and presence on the earth.
Amen.
That's a big deal. Like we originally were created with a ton of value and dignity because we are the image of the Creator.
Yeah.
Right.
To do his bidding on the earth.
Yeah.
So he can be in heaven and be ruled.
And we're supposed to partner with him. But he really did give us legitimate authority and responsibility. That's why when the sin happens, we break the whole creation because he gave us legitimate. One thing we got to understand about God, guys, when he says something, it has a lot of weight. His words are the only words that actually have action with them.
Oh, yeah.
I can say a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but
there's no action
until I actually do it.
When God says it, action actually accompanies his word. That's a big deal. So he has to be very careful what he says.
Yeah.
Okay. So he said, human beings, my image, are going to rule the earth. They're going to rule everything. Right when he said that, we had a ton of power. That's kind of where he messed up right there. Just saying that.
Because then we had all of that.
It was a big, he just made a huge proclamation.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Because at that very moment, we
right
then
in
had
that moment,
dominion and power.
We had a ton of power from jump. Okay. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. Okay. And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. Okay, have dominion over everything, blah, blah, blah. He repeats himself. Anytime the Bible repeats itself, it's a big deal. Okay. Let's see. So then you jump to 2. There was evening and morning, and that was the 6th day. And then you jump to chapter 2. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. That's the heavenly beings. That's the Elohim.
Yeah.
Right? And on the 7th day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work that he had done. So God blessed the 7th day and made it holy because it was on it God rested from all the work that he had done in creation. Now, there is no evening and morning right there. There is no evening and morning on the 7th day.
Oh, it never, yeah. Never ends.
Okay. So the Bible is not telling us how old the earth is right then and there. Because if it was a literal week, that he created everything,
Yeah.
the seventh day would have ended. Okay, so whatever this is, it is not a literal Earth week.
Wow.
It can't be. Okay, and it's not, because if you understand ancient culture at the time, okay, whenever a new king was coming into power, they would go out and they would announce his kingship for like 7 days. They have a party for 7 days, this whole feast. It was a big thing. We're announcing the king. Hey, we got a new king coming to power, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then he would, on the seventh day, he would culminate his rule and he would rule, and then he'd go from there. Okay, this is God announcing his rule in his creation, but God's never going to stop ruling. That's why the seventh day doesn't end.
Whoa.
There's no end to God's rule. He never stops ruling.
Okay, Jeff.
Okay, so this is all Bible Project. I can't take any credit. Okay, but that's significant. And then the word rest. God was not tired, guys.
Oh, dude.
He was not tired. He didn't need a break. Okay.
Even the Lord rested.
Now, that is true. He did that as an example to us. You need to rest. But before the fall, rest was totally different. Okay? Because so in God's sense, in this verse here, he's resting in his rule. He is settling into his position.
Like him sitting on the throne.
It's him sitting on the throne and like, now I'm here to rule my thing. I'm here to do it. Okay.
I created it now.
Yes.
Just have to just watch it flourish.
Now, when you go into chapter 2, which I won't go into too much, right? So when he creates man, okay, let me see if I can find where it says it. Okay, earth was created, the earth, the heavens, blah, 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 blah. Okay, then the Lord formed the man from the dust, from the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living creature. Now, here's the translation issue in verse 8 of chapter 2.
Okay.
And the Lord God planted a garden in Eden in the east, and there he put the man. Now that word put, it's wrong. Okay? In Hebrew, it is the word nuach, which means rest. So God rested him in the garden. Now that word nuach sounds very similar to Noah. Noah's name literally means rest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And there's a lot of significance to that story, because God is going to bring his rest through Noah. Right? So God is always trying to give us rest. Now, rest here is different, because what's the man going to do in the garden?
He's going to work.
He's going to work. Okay? So work and rest back then, before the fall, totally different things. Okay?
Interesting.
Here's what I literally just came up with this analogy like the other day, and I was like, yo, this is dope. So if I take my plug here, you guys who are listening cannot see this, but if I take my plug, so I have my phone right here, right? My phone is working. It is losing battery. It's working.
Right.
If I plug it in, it's still working. Is it losing any battery?
No.
That's what rest is with God.
Woo-wee.
Okay.
That's fire.
You're plugged into the source. So you're working, but you're never tired, because I'm getting sustained by the source.
Which I remember we had a conversation about, like,
I think I preached on this on the Sabbath when I did that sermon on the Sabbath.
Like, it should not feel like work.
Totally
being
different.
a believer, being a Christian, walking with Jesus should not feel as if it is work, but it should feel as if you are always charged. You're always ready to go. Which, when you look at the disciples and like Peter and look at Paul and all this stuff, because you would read Paul's lifestyle, you're like, dude,
this guy had to be tired.
There's no way. Or even Jesus' ministry, like,
oh
my gosh. But it's like they just keep going. Even Jesus saying to his disciples after he talked to the woman at the well, saying, like, we're going to get you some food. He's like, all right, yeah, go get me some food. And then he comes back and they're like, hey, we got you some food. He's like, oh, I'm already I don't need that.
I got food you know nothing about.
He's like, wait, what? So that is phenomenal.
Yeah, and then also,
I love it.
In the garden, before the fall, pre-fall, it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard work.
Right.
The ground was just willing to work with you, producing stuff.
No thistles, no thorns. Yeah.
It was fun. You're like, oh, I'm doing this.
It's like Inception. Yeah. When it was like creating the city when the dream.
Oh, yeah. It was light work. It was some lot. Okay. So, and then the fall happens and we break everything.
Yeah.
And then work becomes hard and it leads to death.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the point of all this that I'm trying to make is that this says nothing about science. It says nothing against science. Right. There's nothing anti-science in this story. Okay. So we have to be mindful of that. Like, there's no debate. Oh, the Bible says Earth's only 6,000 years old or 10,000 years old, but we know that it's billions of years old. Who cares? I don't care how old it is. The Bible doesn't care either. Okay, it's not saying that. Whatever you say. Well, what about evolution? It's, whatever. It's a theory. Number one, you can't observe it.
Yeah.
It's not scientific, because part of the scientific method, you got to be able to observe it and repeat it. You can't observe evolution, number one. Number two, there's a ton of holes in the evolutionary theory. The fossil record has tons of holes in it. There's tons of animals that like appeared, did not change for a very long period of time, and then died out. No evolution
happened.
First of all, why are there still ferns? Like the plants. There's plants that have been around the whole time.
Yeah.
They never changed. I'm confused. I thought everything evolved. I don't get it.
Yeah.
We came from monkeys. Why are there still monkeys? I'm very confused by that.
Why did it stop?
Why come they didn't evolve? How come only we did? I'm confused. Okay. But again, even if you want to say, and you got to explain evolution to me. Like natural selection. Explain to me how it, like literally explain it to me.
And who's doing the selecting?
Okay. Even if it is a real thing, God's doing the one doing the selecting. Okay. It's not just nature's doing. Look, you're telling me that there's a moth, okay? And this moth is on a tree, and the tree is dark gray. The cells in the moth are able to say, you know what? We should change our color to dark gray to match this tree. Can the cells see that? Explain to me. It just develops camouflage because it needs to. How? Like, really? Explain it to me.
That seems like a designed...
I'm sorry. Without God, that makes zero sense.
Yeah.
It did it because over thousands and billions of years, it just happened to change its color to match its environment on its own?
Adapt
I don't get it.
Yeah, I can understand how some things are adaptable.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I can see how, like, okay,
absolutely.
it's being, you work in an area for a long time, and then, it's hot. So then you get darker skin, and you work less, that's not. You get lighter skin. I can understand those adaptabilities. But when you're talking about like an organism that doesn't have reason or doesn't have cognitive thought,
the DNA in a cell cannot think.
There's no. And the thing is, it's just so funny. Even evolutionary theorists all believe that like the cells are all programmed to do a specific task.
Like where did
I'm just saying.
Even if it's completely true evolution, cool. Who did it? I'm just like, you still didn't explain. You're not explaining how. You're not explaining why.
Exactly.
Science can tell us how. It can't tell us why. It never can.
Exactly.
So, we're gonna take a break. It has already been 30 minutes.
Has.
So we'll stop and then we'll come back and we'll continue talking about the implications of our purpose. Like the fact that we were created to rule. What does that mean? What does that mean? That's post fall.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back, guys.
All right, see you in a bit.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey.
This is a commercial for Preacher's Hour.
How to pay the bills.
Yeah, our Patreon, guys. So we talked about it a little bit in some episodes, but this is the actual commercial for it. So we have a Patreon. They have a website as well as an app that you can get. And we have 2 tiers on our Patreon. If you know how Patreon works, if you watch other YouTubers, everyone has it. My brother has one. Heck of people are using them. So we have a donation tier, which is $3 a month. You don't get any extra perks. You're literally just helping us out. We just would love it.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
And then we have a $5 a month tier. And that one, you would get access to our YouTube live that we will do. So we're going to start doing, we did an Instagram live before. We're going to start doing YouTube lives. And they'll only be for our $5 a month Patreons. And they'll be able to do like live Q&As with us, and it'll just be really interactive. So if you don't want to miss out on that, hit on our Patreon real quick. The link will be in the description of our episodes. It's patreon.com/preachershour. If you need more information, hit us up on Instagram.
Yeah, help us out.
Yeah, man. All right, back to your regularly scheduled program.
We was the bosses. Anyways.
All right, guys. We're back from our break.
Yeah, we are, which is a fantastic break.
It was pretty cool.
We all learned a lot. So just so y'all know, we watched this video from the Bible Project that explains Genesis 1.
It will be in the notes on the YouTube video. I sent Josiah the link.
Oh, yeah.
Already, so it'll be there.
Oh, when I tell you, y'all will be blessed by it. First of all, the animation is fantastic, but like the information, oh, I feel like we could literally talk about Genesis 1 for a year and like still pull out stuff that's that pertains to like not just like theology, but like just like purpose and like reason for what like people always have like the main question of like why are we here? Like man, and it's one of those things that makes you happy to be here.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
say that, man.
When you know that you were created to like subdue and rule and to dominate the earth, not in like a dictator or like evil type of way, but like a way to
In a partnership.
in a partnership with God.
With your creator.
It's
Yeah, man.
it made me feel good.
Like, I remember being a kid and even like kind of into middle school and high school, and I didn't know this because I never really read it for myself.
Right.
And you know, people, why are we here? Like, why are we? And I'm just like, you trying to come up with a reason that never makes sense. I remember being like,
Or that
well,
has a gang of holes in it.
yeah, like, well, you know, God, he wanted to. I mean, like,
Because he loves you.
yeah, because, you know, yeah, we're here, but then we messed it up. Why would he? Okay, well, but when you realize, like, we had a very clear
Yeah.
purpose, like, there's a clear intent. You know, God likes to share. Now, when we understand like the basis of God, I think I've talked about this before in the podcast, that he is love. And he has so much love in himself, between the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, that he did not want to keep it to himself. It's
That's
just
so
like,
beautiful.
and he's like, I'm really creative. And like they literally, the three of them worked together on the creation, and they did it as a gift to each other. It's like, man, I love you so much. I'm going to make this beautiful flower or whatever, this beautiful, you know, field of grass or this plant and this. So I'm going to make this. Why I love you so much to make this. Like, it's like them showing affection to each other. And then it's like, okay, we have all this love. We cannot keep it to ourselves. Let's share it with other beings. So they make all the Elohim and they make humans. And because God is a sharer and he is love, love involves choice. So a lot of people, you know, I've heard this on many Ravi Zacharias videos and stuff like that. Like, why would God make the tree and leave it there? Like, why would he do that? That's not,
Doesn't make much
it's
sense.
too tempting,
Yeah.
you know? And what do you think about that, Brandon?
Why he made the tree?
Why the tree?
Because we had to have a choice.
Okay.
Like we had to have like a. I mean, there's gonna be. Oh wait, which tree are we talking about? Both trees or just
both?
Oh yeah. You know, he didn't want to create robots. He wanted people to choose to love him, because of his love. Like because I love
love has to be a choice. If there's no choice, it's not love.
Right. Exactly. I don't know what it is, but it's not love.
Definitely not love. If you're programmed to love
do
it, it's not love.
It's not love. It's artificial. That I mean, and then as we talked about in the break, the tree of life is God. Like I don't know if it's like created, but it is Him. And if you are connected to Him, you never get tired.
Yeah,
you never,
he's the source of life. He's the sustainer. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
So I think those are why the tree is there. You can choose to be part of connected to the Creator, to be connected to life itself, or not. Like there's really no.
You have a choice.
There's
and
no
it is
other.
a choice.
Yeah, there's no other way. Like people think it's like, okay, is it life and death? Like no, it's life. I mean, it's life and death because there is no other choice but death. So it's God or death. Like it's Jesus or death. There's no in between. So I don't know. That's all I got.
That's good, man. I think that's really good. So we're venturing into very controversial territory. I think that's why a lot of churches don't preach the book of Genesis, especially Genesis 1. They try to stay away from, 1 through. They'll go to 3. I think most people are comfortable with the fall and sin.
Yeah.
But we really try to tiptoe around it because it's so complex and we are not ancient people.
Yeah.
And this is not in it's not in our language. It's in a different language than us.
Which, if you click the link, it helps out with the language a
It will
lot.
help a lot, man.
It is so helpful.
If I could learn one thing, it would be Hebrew. I would just if I could get fluent in biblical Hebrew.
Dude, so obviously Tim Mackey is fluent in biblical Hebrew, but then N.T. Wright doesn't even carry an English Bible.
Oh yeah, he can just read.
He literally will read out of a Hebrew Bible, and
Tim does the same thing, by the way.
Does he really?
Yeah, like a lot of times when you're watching the videos or listening to the podcast, he will just type out a translation. Like he'll read it in Hebrew and he'll type it in English. And so then John will be like, "Wait, where'd you get that? I've never seen." Oh, he's not. Sorry, that's my translation. Sorry, bro. I was just reading in Hebrew and then I translated it because this translation makes the most sense to the original language. Then they look at multiple translations to compare. Yeah, so like, well, the NIV says this, NLT says this, and NASB says this.
Yeah, so it's really, I mean, and it makes sense because you got to take it from the standpoint of like, you know, the Old Testament was written in Hebrew, and then the New Testament was mostly written in Greek. So it's just like,
and there's a Greek version of the Old Testament too.
Is there a Hebrew
New Testament?
No. Too far apart.
Well, by then they had been conquered by Greece and Alexander the Great. That's why it's in Greek.
Oh,
because Alexander the Great's mission before he died. He died very young. He died at like 30 something. After he had one of the largest empires, but he wanted an entire world to speak Greek. So he made it illegal to speak any other language and write any other language. And so that's why there's a Greek version of the Old Testament, because the Hebrews were worried that they would not be able to keep. So I think they translated the entire Old Testament in like 70 days. They worked like day and night. This group of scribes worked day and night to create the Septuagint.
Before it got destroyed.
Yeah, before they lost the Hebrew versions.
Wow.
And then there's like the whole I forget what the name of the people were called, but they made the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh yeah.
They were a group of like a kind of an offshoot. There's some issues with the Dead Sea Scrolls because these people were kind of like a little extremist. This sect of Judaism that made the Dead Sea Scrolls. But anyway,
makes sense.
There's a lot here, guys. We're getting very controversial here because when reading Genesis 1 through, we'll say Genesis 1 through 3, there's some decisions that you have to make that I don't think a lot of people are comfortable with.
Like what?
We were talking about during the break. Were Adam and Eve a literal couple? Like, were they two literal human beings? I've heard some pastors and theologians say, like, they have to be. If they're not, then we're screwed. Like, they're just and others they're just like more open. I'm definitely on that side. I am open to a literal couple.
Yeah.
If I get to heaven and God's like, yo, it was real two people, I'm like, okay, cool, that's great. But to me, it makes more sense when you read Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 and even Genesis, I think 3 and 4, it just makes more sense that it's more symbolic, that there was a group of people that God created. Because then when you get to Cain, you get to Genesis 4.
Oh yeah, and he's like,
Cain kills Abel.
Mark me this way.
Yeah, people are gonna kill me. Well, what people?
Yeah, who's gonna kill you?
Yeah, and I've heard some crazy explanations of like incest and
that they were all smashing Eve.
No, that Adam and Eve had heck of kids, and that Cain's wife was actually his sister.
No,
because all the people on the earth were from Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
So like, but then you have to account. Okay, God was not cool with incest. He says it later on, in like think Deuteronomy or whatever. But so you're saying at one point he was cool with it,
and then there's enough people tell you now you don't have to.
Yeah, and then you have to account for Genesis. I want to say 6 and 7 with Noah and the 3 families.
Oh yeah.
So again, guys, if you're taking this thing literal, then I could see why you think there's a clash between science and the Bible, because there's just a lot of things you got to account for. But if you realize that the Bible is trying to tell us something deeper, something grander, than just the minute details that are in the story.
Yeah.
If you don't see that, then you're going to miss a lot, like you said during the break.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that video that I sent you, really like opens up that the mindset that you have to see the Bible through two lenses, like simultaneously. So you got to look at it as like, yes, they are real authors who wrote the Bible, who are actual people. But then there's also God who inspired these authors to write. And it uses like a really good example. Should I play it right now?
Yeah, man. Go ahead. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm gonna just play it, and then if you're watching it on YouTube, you'll see it right now.
The actual video.
But if you're not, then you're just going to have to listen to this and use your imagination to its fullest extent. Okay? All right, here we go.
When I was a kid, one of my aunts had an antique stereoscope in her living room. The stereoscope was sort of a 19th century version of the 3D TV. They came with a collection of black and white photographs that looked three-dimensional when you viewed them through the viewer. Each photograph had the same image printed on it twice, and the stereoscope played with the depth perception of your eyes, making the two images fuse together into a single three-dimensional scene. If you only looked through one lens, the picture was flat and two-dimensional, but when you looked through both lenses at the same time, it took on three-dimensional depth and life. The Bible is like this in some ways. There's a place in the New Testament where it says that the scriptures are God-breathed, that they were spoken by God. Theologians sometimes use the term inspiration to talk about this, the idea that God himself breathed out the words of the Bible. But how should we understand this? Some people approach the Bible as though it were literally dictated by God, that the humans who wrote it were just recording word for word what they heard God say, as clearly as if he were speaking to them on the telephone. Others dismiss the idea of divine inspiration altogether and feel that the Bible is just a human record of people's ideas about God, an interesting book, but not anything God wrote. Both of these approaches, seeing the Bible as simply a human creation or seeing the Bible as something dictated word for word by God, are kind of like looking at a stereoscope through only one lens. The picture is going to be flat. If we really want the Bible to come to life, we need to view it through both lenses at once. It's a human book that people wrote and edited and crafted, and at the same time, it's a divine book that God spoke and shaped and inspired. Maybe a musical analogy will help. Different musical instruments have different tonal qualities depending on the material they're made of and how the notes are sounded. A trumpet is bright and explosive. A clarinet is breathy and earthy. A kazoo is nasally and playful. The same musician could breathe into each of those instruments, and her breath would produce three very distinct sounds. She could play the exact same song on all three instruments, the very same notes, and no matter how good she is, the clarinet won't ever sound like a trumpet, and the kazoo will never sound like a clarinet. If the musician is God, and her breath is God's spirit, and if the different instruments are the different authors who actually wrote the Bible, this is a useful way of thinking about inspiration. Because the authors who wrote the various books of the Bible had each encountered God in a unique, unrepeatable way. And then, while God's Spirit was working in their hearts, they recorded what it was God was saying to them through that encounter. Like a musician picking up an instrument, God's Spirit was breathing through them, determining the song that came out. But at the same time, they were writing as people, with individual personalities and perspectives and passions, all of which determined what they wrote. Just like a clarinet doesn't stop sounding like a clarinet, or a trumpet like a trumpet, just because it's the same musician playing both, the fact that God was speaking through them doesn't mean it wasn't also them speaking. And even though the words were their words, it's still God's word we're hearing when we read them. Or, like it says in one place, the sacred writings don't have their origin in human beings, but human beings spoke from God as they were carried along by the Holy Spirit.
Man,
as they were carried along by the Holy Spirit, I love that.
That's so which for me that helps my theology, because I think a lot of times you can view the Bible as a human book and discredit a lot of things, but you can take it literal as we were saying and see it as an over
spiritualized,
it just,
and then you can't take into account all the differences and different things and nuance.
There's no nuance, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's well, how can this be? Well, and if you take it as both,
Yes.
as a human book and as like divine,
Mm-hmm.
you get to see how, number one, how dope God is by
Yes.
choosing certain people to portray something in their own special way.
Yes.
So it's like God intentionally chose the clarinet for this song because a trumpet wouldn't sound good right here. So like you can't take someone like I don't know, this is like a huge extreme, but like you can't take someone like no, I don't know, like not Moses, or I guess you could say Moses. Take someone like Moses and have him write Lamentations. Moses is a trumpet. Like he's very extreme. He's very like forthright. He's like very like aggressive. Like you can't use him.
Versus like Jeremiah.
Exactly. Who's like soft
That's
spoken.
good. That's good.
Who also like does tell the truth like and like
Yes.
unapologetically, but he still laments and mourns for like I don't even know if there's even a time when Moses cried for Israel. Like I can't.
I know he got mad.
I know he got mad at him a lot,
that's
but
true.
you know what I'm saying. So just God knew who to choose to write what books, and like which ones to put, or whoever put the canon together, like knew what to put where, for the sake of us and like those who will read it later. Like the people who wrote it, they wrote it in their time period. No one knew that they were writing the Bible. I don't know if people know that. Like no one like was like God came to them in the dreams like, I want you to write the Bible. What's the Bible? Like no, there was no Bible.
There was the Hebrew scriptures that came together over a very long period of time, 1,600 years or something like that.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
And then the New Testament scriptures that came along. So there was no God takes these people into like the temple and tells them to write these things. They're literally writing them in real life.
Yeah.
They're experiencing it and then they're writing it.
And it's not like people would go into a trance, like, ooh, and then their hands just start moving. The Holy Spirit just making them write. Like they are using their God-given gifts of creativity to do what they did, man. So, yeah, I think the implications of us being here to rule the world, and then the fact that we rebel and break creation, that does not take away the call. So like we still have even though we're broken, we are still called to rule the earth.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we have to acknowledge that as people, as believers in this world, and wrestle with that. Like, how do we, because now we have Jesus. Jesus came, he is the head, he's in charge, right? It's his kingdom. He is the human because God, listen, the reason why Jesus had to come as a human is right here, is when it says,
in Genesis
you will,
3.
That's true.
Yeah.
But the fact that God told humans that they would rule, he cannot take that away.
Wow. I didn't
So it
notice
has
that.
to be a human that
being,
rules this still. But since none of you humans can seem to do it, I've got to come as a human to fulfill my word. My word will not go in vain.
Oh my gosh.
Okay? He has to do what he said. His word has to be accomplished.
That's crazy.
I mean, it has to.
Like I didn't. So
I just put that together right now, by the way. God said, "Hey, let me drop something."
But it made total sense. I didn't take into account that God had already said that humans would rule. Therefore, he couldn't he would be either lying or he would be like taking back his word
which he's not
if he was going to if he came and did it personally himself. Like if he's like, all right, all sin is gone. That's which I never got like patience. Patience used to always say that he'd be like, God had to come as Jesus because the devil would say, no, you cheated. And I was like, God can't cheat, and who cares? It's the devil. No one like cares about his opinion.
Yeah.
So I never understood that, but like now it just makes sense. Like God had to come in the form of a human being, which is Jesus, to accomplish what humans were supposed to accomplish.
They said the first Adam messed up. The second Adam, which is Jesus, the second human, Adam means human, is going to do it right. And he did it right. And so now we can actually fulfill the call. Yeah. With the power of Christ in us, we can actually do what we were supposed to do. And so we were actually talking, it's only 8 minutes left. It's already at 52. So
change the time again.
I swear I did, man. You've been watching me the whole time.
Just be fast forward.
No,
with your foot.
So, let me forget what I was gonna say.
We were talking about Adam and Eve and then Jesus being Jesus being the one to do it right.
We were talking during the break. Oh, I almost had it. God's plan. God's original plan.
Oh yeah.
Dude.
Oh, oh my
crazy.
gosh.
So guys, everything in Genesis 1 and 2, right? That was God's ideal. Okay? We're gonna rule together. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be beautiful.
Okay. But this is how dope our God is, man. He knew before they did. I'm sure Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and the Father were talking. Like, man, if we do this,
You know what's gonna happen.
you know it's gonna happen. They gonna mess it up, right? And just for my people, the universe is billions of years old. Okay, I mean, we don't know how long they were in the garden.
Yeah.
Before they messed
fall.
up. So anyway,
Could you imagine them being there for 1 billion years?
they wouldn't know. There's no time.
Facts.
You're with God. So anyway, God's original plan. He knew that he was going to do this, make this creation, and that humans and Elohim were going to rebel and mess it up, right? Elohim being other spiritual beings, including the Satan.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so he already had a plan, and God's plan is better than the original plan. Now think about this. If we never messed up, if human beings never sinned,
Yeah.
that would have been cool. We would still be in the Garden of Eden. It would have been cool, right? But then Jesus never would have been able to come and die.
We would
for
never
us.
know what that love looked like.
And we wouldn't get the new bodies, the new heaven, and the new earth.
Because there'd be no reason to make anything new.
Like, man.
So like God sees, as Josiah said during the break, God saw our mess up, and instead of like just giving us like the original purpose, he then like ante's up and was like,
I got something better.
I got something even better for you. Like, you messed it up, but I got even like you thought the first one was dope. Check out this next one.
It's almost like God's like, I can't wait till they mess this up.
So I can
and I get to flex my love on
dude.
it. Like,
It's about to be the mixtape.
I'm like, I can imagine them in heaven. Like, man, wait till they see. Wait till I come down and die for them, and come back from the dead, and then give them new bodies and new heaven and new earth. Like, they think the Garden of Eden is cool. They think the first earth is cool. Wait till they mess it up.
But even the fact that we have the ability to, like after Jesus died and rose from the grave, and then when you accept Jesus into your life, you become a new creation.
Yes.
Like you have power you didn't have before.
Yes.
Like you're not like I don't know how to explain this very well, but I think about it like this: like as a unregenerated human, someone who doesn't know Jesus, it's very difficult for you to like, number one, like control your emotions, to love those who hate on you, to honor those who don't really deserve honor. Like it's hard to do those things. Like it's extremely hard. It's hard to do it as a Christian, but like you have the power to do it as a believer.
Yes.
Like with Jesus living inside me, I don't see anyone the same like I used to.
Right.
Like when I see inmates, people who are in prison, I don't think of them as criminals. I'm just like, dude, what'd you do? Oh man, I stole 6 cars and I robbed a bank and I shot someone. Dang, that's terrible. How long ago you did that? 20 years ago. You still want to do that kind of stuff? Nah, man, that changed a long time ago. But like, it's like, oh wow, like, but you're still in here. I get you gotta pay your debt to society. But I hate the fact that we don't have restoration. Like you don't get put back to society. Like, that's not the goal. I didn't see that before. I didn't see like I thought just going to jail, you're a bad person. You're always a bad person. Yeah. But that's not true. When you look at Jesus and what he did for us,
God does us. Yeah,
he didn't do this at all. He was like
messed up. I have a plan to restore you, not to the original, to better than the original plan.
That's beautiful, man. Like to me, and like that's the one part of theology I love. I love the fact that Jesus came and like died for us so that we could be better humans. Like not just better people. Like I guess that's cool, but like imagine if all humanity was like, all right, cool guy. Like we all know you. We're gonna rock in this way. It would be because like the thing is in the Garden of Eden, there was no like sin. There was no wrongdoing. You couldn't show forgiveness because there was no need for forgiveness. Everyone was on right.
God would never be able to show his grace.
Exactly. So now we get to partner in what God did for us. We get to do the same thing for other people. That's crazy to me.
Oh man, it just shows you like like God is just on another level with his,
We get to be my God.
like with his glory, right? Like the reason why he did everything is while simultaneously because of love. Yes, absolutely. But it's also for glory, for him.
For his glory.
'Cause
Yeah.
it gets to like the three of them get to glorify each other.
It's crazy.
And it's like, yo, man, when you go down there and die for them and I bring you back, and then we get to send the Holy Spirit in there to
do his
empower them,
thing.
to lead them back to us so they get to see us face to face in the end. Man, we're going to look so cool. And God is the only being who gets to say that.
Yeah.
Who gets to be like, yeah, this is going to make me look really good.
Yeah.
And it's a benefit for all for
people.
everything else.
Like
man.
God's flex is everyone's benefit.
He's the only being who, when he flexes, it's good for everybody.
Everybody. Like,
Man.
oh.
He's the only being worthy of flexing. No other being has anything noteworthy enough to flex about compared to him, man. He's the only one who should be ever flexing ever. Any other rapper who's going to flex it from now on, man. Go meet God.
Dude, I'm telling you. Because it's just dope. I love that. Like, I love being able to worship God and to, like, give him praise and honor for the things he has done, he is doing, and he's going to do. And making him look better helps us helps us to be better. Something that my church said a long time ago, and I'm trying to live by it more and more, is God's intent is for everyone to have everything they need, and no one's ever in want or in need. Like, that's God's intent.
Yep.
Like, his glory is everyone's good. And when we're able to like give him glory for the things he has done, other people get to see that. They get to become believers if they choose to become believers, and then and partake in what God has given to us already, which is the ability to be like human 2.0.
Yeah,
So
2.0, man.
Oh, I love it.
So good. So the last thing I want to say, I just want to throw this in there really quickly about science. For a very long time, scientists believed that the universe always existed. They thought that it was eternal, the universe. They're like, oh, these Christians are tripping. There was no creation of the universe. It's always been here. And then around 1950, we discovered that the universe did have a beginning. And they were freaking out. Like, wait a minute. The universe wasn't always here. That's when they created the whole Big Bang theory to try to justify that.
Oh, wow.
But, I mean, you could say the Big Bang. It probably was a Big Bang when God said, let there be. It probably did explode. But the fact that the universe has not always existed is more than enough scientific proof that God is real.
Facts.
I mean, you gotta explain a whole lot.
Yeah, and I think this is one thing where many people get this thing twisted. If you go back to the beginning, in Garden of Eden, there was no religion. There's just real life.
There's no denominations.
We've convoluted this
Like,
whole
you think
thing.
Adam and Eve were Baptists?
Pentecostal, going to church on a Sabbath.
Oh man.
So I think this really helped me. I can't remember who told me this. So if you told me this and you listen to the podcast, I apologize for not giving you credit. But they told me, like, living for Christ or living for Jesus, living for God, is not a religion. It's the relationship. Mm-hmm. Like, we hear it all the time, but like we don't really practice that. Don't look like, if you're a non-believer, if you're a person that doesn't believe in Jesus, if you made this far in the podcast, you're amazing. Not believing in Jesus and you get here. But like, just think about this. You're not subjected to whatever church you go to. Like, you're not like in like a subordinate of or an employee of, or however you want to see. You're not like under this church. Like, you are under God, regardless if you're a believer or not. So this is where, like, for me, I have like a real issue with like natural and supernatural, because like for me, there's like natural and then subnatural. I don't think there's like they would say supernatural, but it's really like, because the natural was the order that God set. That's natural.
The natural included God.
Yeah, that's natural. But what subnatural is what we've created on earth, and like messed it up. So we are like, I don't know, because my thing is like, this is not natural. Like, it's not what we're intended to do. So when I look at like, when I see like those, when I have that idea in my head, I just can't help but think, dude, God's not looking for a religious person. He's not looking for religiosity. He's not looking for the person that goes to church all the time. He's not looking for the person that like reads their Bible all the time. Those things will come. Like, you will enjoy those afterwards. But the one thing about, and I don't know if this is like theology or not, but I believe that God is just trying to get your attention as a human being. He's trying to get, like, if the Bible will help clarify some things, but like God's trying to get your attention. I mean, hands down, all God's trying to do is be like, yo, I'm God. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I made you.
I made you. I created you.
Let's hang out.
Let's chill.
Yeah.
And it's not all about a religion. So I just want like people to understand that even when we talk about theology, there's a lot of stuff that's in here that we talked about that may be obviously over people's heads who don't know Jesus, who haven't read the Bible.
Right.
But at the simplest, I believe that theology really is your understanding of God, or you trying to understand who God is. To me, that's theology. Like, just
yes, absolutely.
because this is where you are.
Yes.
Like, you're not going to be a theologian off jump. Like, you're going to be like, okay, this is what I thought about God. Let me find out like these are the assumptions. These are the expectations. This is all I have with God.
Yes.
But like, let me go. This is my theology.
We should be always trying to increase and improve our theology. That's the whole point of life.
Increase and improve. Every act. And the thing is, even if you're not a believer, you have a theology.
Yes, absolutely.
You have a thought process of how you think of God or how you think of like who created the universe. Atheists have a theology.
Yep.
Their theology is they believe there is no theos.
A ton of faith. Their faith is way stronger than ours.
Oh, facts. I couldn't do it. So if just don't listen to these series, man, and like, think that we have it all together. Don't think that we have all the answers. We lean heavily on the Bible Project for a lot of our information.
They have all the
They
answers.
have a lot of answers, or at least a lot of responses.
They have a lot, yeah.
What we're trying to do is convey information to you all so that you have a good foundation to even start your own journey in theology. So you can say, you know what, I got some questions. I need some answers. Or at least I need someone to like talk to about this. And we just want to like be the people that you could listen to start your journey. So, I don't know why I said that, to be honest.
Thank you, Holy Spirit.
I appreciate you. No idea where that came from, but I hope that it blessed you.
Amen. We're going to stop there, man. We got probably another part at least.
Yeah.
On this. I already have an idea.
Part 40.
Part 4. But thank you guys for listening and supporting, man. We love y'all.
Yeah.
Grace and peace. Have a great rest of your week, man.
All right.
See you in the next one.
Peace.